Live. Hello, people. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dr. Terry Alfred, and I am here on today with attorney Kristian Mccray Stewart, and we are going to speak today about $1 million estate planning. $1 million estate planning. So, if this is your first time watching me live, I do want to introduce myself and say that I specialize in helping business owners attract abundance and retire wealthy. And on October the 24th through the 26th, we are going to host our second Attract Abundance Conference. And I almost said Dr. Kristian Mccray Stewart going to be our is going to be our estate planning expert. So I want to read your bio, Queen. How are you doing on today?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. And how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. So I'm going to tell the people who you are, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to share some things and give us some insights about how we can do better at planning for our $1 million estates. So, Kristian Mccray Stewart is a legal luminary with dual licenses in Mississippi and Texas, encompassing a breadth of expertise in state and federal courts, including the United States Courts of Appeal for the Fifth Circuit. Her academic journey, culminating in a bachelor's degree, magna cum laude in political science from Mississippi College, and a Juris Doctor cum laude from the University of Mississippi School of Law, laid the foundation for her illustrious career. Kristian's commitment to justice led her to serve as a public defender in Oxford, Mississippi, where she passionately advocates for her clients, ensuring they receive the fairness they deserve. Her tenure as former staff judge advocate for the United States Air Force further enriched her legal acumen and dedication to service. In 2018, she established the law offices of Kristian A. Mccray, PLLC, later rebranded as Mccray Stewart and Associates in 2024, reflecting her vision for growth and change in the legal landscape. Now, I'm going to go off script now and tell y'all this is somebody you should get to know because she the bomb.com. She is a mother. She's a loving wife. I have the honor to be inside of her home, and I can just feel the spirit of good people, right? So outside of all those legal accolades, which are good because you don't want to just do business with anybody. We want to make sure we're doing business with people who are licensed and certified. But the reason that I'm excited to partner with this queen and introduce to some and reintroduce to others is because she has a good heart. And sometimes when you think of attorneys and lawyers, people are like, oh, you have to be a good liar to be a good lawyer. At least that's what I heard growing up. And so this is a woman of integrity. This is a woman who cares about her clients. She cares about her prospects. And so she has decided to become a sponsor again at the Attract Abundance Conference because she knows that business owners deserve to attract abundance, retire wealthy, and then also protect those assets. So again, I introduce to some and present to others Kristian Mccray Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you. Our amazing doctor. And I have a quick funny for you. So when you said that, you were like, Dr. Kristian Mccray Stewart. So when I was getting that bachelor's at Mississippi College, I had told one of my professors, I was like, yeah, I'm going to school to be a lawyer. And they call it, we get a Juris Doctor. And she was like, one day, just out the blue, off the script, she was like, and attorneys are not real doctors. And I was like, hold on, honey. I didn't. Don't bring the heat to me. This just gonna be the field that I'm in.
Doctor of law.
Okay, I was just like, everybody calm down. It's gonna be all right.
I get it. I totally get it. Here's the thing: when you are called, it doesn't matter what other people call you to do. You are called. Okay, you are called. So I have a lot of titles. They call me the women's wealth strategist. I'm known as a host, a trainer. I have a lot of titles. VP of one organization, chapter development of another organization. But at the end of the day, I am called to be a teacher. So therefore, I am a teacher. And so if you are called to be a doctor of law, a doctor of the legal services that we need, then guess what? That's your name. That's your name. I'm not going to take it away from you. And it looks like we got some people who are live here with us. Say hello, Samia. Thank you for dropping a heart on today. I want to start off first by just asking you, why did you decide to choose the area that you are practicing in? Because when you become an attorney, you have many avenues that you can take. Why did you choose this area? And tell us more about your specialty.
Yeah, so I chose this area because it's an area where a lot of our people aren't knowledgeable, right? And so I've practiced a plethora of areas just because I had a mentor who, when they came out, they were doing it all. And so I was blessed to be under him to be able to do it all. But this is one area that I focus in because I realized in our communities, just amongst people, that they do not do the planning and the preparation, whether it was from personal experiences or those who I was close to, or just seeing it on a day-by-day basis, that people aren't planning. And so when they fail to plan, what happens when that time comes, when their time comes, their families are negatively impacted. They're trying to figure out all the ins and outs of what's going on. And it's just like, the people perish for a lack of knowledge. And so to come and be willing to actually pour into the community, to pour into our people, to give them the knowledge that's needed, so then they're equipped to then come back and just do the preparation. It's not a tedious task, but for whatever reason, people don't want to face it head on. And what happens is then on the back end, there's a lot of headache that the family are left to bear with.
And I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask about that. So, of course, those of you who know me, I am a life insurance broker, and I am the one that the families reach out to for various things. Where when people are looking to set up a trust, that's not something I do. I say, oh, you need to talk to Kristian. So tell us, why should someone have a trust? Why should someone have a trust, and who shouldn't have a trust? Let me say it that way, because sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't have enough money to have a trust, or I don't have enough assets. So tell us, who should have a trust and why should they have a trust?
Exactly. Great questions. First, everybody can have a trust. It's not for the wealthy. It doesn't mean like you have to have, hundreds of thousands of dollars before you initiate a trust. Anybody can have it. And the benefits of a trust is that they pass outside of probate. And for anyone who has had to experience probate or heard about it, it can be a tedious process. Not only not only tedious, but it can get expensive depending on what is going on. So when you have a trust in place, everything passes along based on your preferences, based on what you desire, based on what you have envisioned for your family and loved ones. And it's private. I tell people, we're out here trying to build these $1 million businesses, not trying to. We are building $1 million businesses, right? And so with that, 9 times out of 10, you don't want people knowing what you have or what you're leaving to your loved ones, right? That's a whole nother topic that I'm gonna get on, why you don't want people to know. But it passes outside of probate. Probate is public information. Anybody can access it and get that information to know, oh, well, she left her children, X, Y, and Z. No, you don't want that to happen. And then, like when you talk about your life insurance policies, you can put those into a trust. And one thing that I like about trust, especially for people who have young children, is that you can designate how and when they receive that money, when and how they receive their assets. If we recall, when we were growing up, if I knew now what I knew then, oh my, life would be totally different. It's great now, but it would be that much better. But I didn't have the best financial wisdom and knowledge as I was navigating in my early 20s, right? And so when you think about it, you're building these businesses and you're going to leave your children millions and millions of dollars. You don't want them to squander through that money. And so you can have it set up. Well, hey, when you go to college, you're going to get this amount of money. If you're going to start a business, you get this amount of money, or you can get a vehicle at this age. You can truly structure it as though you're in control. We hear that saying that when you leave here, you're not taking anything with you. That's true. You're not, but you're supposed to be leaving it to your children's children's children. And then you still have control of how it's going to be passed down.
Yes. Thank you. And I heard you mention that people should have a trust for privacy's sake. I heard you speak about protection, right? I heard you speak about probate. And you know, I love alliteration. So I'm like protection, privacy, probate. There are some people who are listening and they don't know what those things are. They don't know what probate is. And so even though I have women who definitely pay close attention to my page and what I'm posting. They're intelligent, they're educated. There are just some terms that they don't know. And so, ladies, if you are watching, men, if you are watching, even if you're watching the replay, I don't want you to feel like you're supposed to know everything. You're not. You're supposed to hire an expert that knows everything about that particular situation. So do not feel bad if you have questions. I highly recommend you do reach out to Kristian Mccray Stewart. But I want you to share with us, what is probate for the people who don't know what it is until they have to experience it. Tell us, what is probate?
Totally. And we see this is where a teacher comes out, because he's like, look, break this down, because we want to make sure that everybody is following and tracking.
Yes.
So probate is the court process that you go through if you have a will, and even if you do not have a will. So if you have a will, of course, you're following that will with the court, and then they're determining who your heirs are, who your beneficiaries are, and how your assets are going to be distributed. So the person who you have selected as your executor, they're saying, look, here's the will, here are all the assets, and they're taking account and track, and then they're making sure that it's distributed according to how your will has set it out. Now, if you do not have a will, it's going to go through probate as well. That court process where you're following this application. In this instance, they're determining who your heirs are. So say that you already have children. Those names are going to be listed there. But then they're also going to go and they're going to have an attorney appointed to that case to go back and do some investigation to make sure, okay, make sure that this person didn't have a child somewhere that no one knows about. They're making sure that those unknown heirs are protected. Yes, they go back and yes. They go and they talk to family and friends who have known you all your life and like, look, how long have you known her or him? How many children did they have? Is it a possibility that they had a child that no one knew about? And they're going to get all this information to present their report to the court. And then ultimately in that aspect, in that instance, without having a will, it's going to be distributed to those heirs. And one point that I want to make, and this is why it's so important for people to do the estate planning, whether you're doing a will, you're doing a trust, because if you do not have a will, the state determines how your assets are going to be distributed, right? So if you do not have children, then it will go to your parents if your parents survived you. If you do not have your parents, then it goes to your siblings. And it keeps going down that line, if you will. And then if you don't have anybody who's connected to you, related to you, then guess what happens? You're giving your assets over to the state, basically.
Yeah. No, I'm not building all this to give it to the state. I'm not building all this to give it to the government. I'm just being honest. I'm saying it live. I want to determine where my stuff goes.
Yes.
And that's why it's important for you all to have an estate plan. Now, the other thing, I'm seeing that we got people watching, and I see the interactions, but I can't see who's liking and loving the comments. So say hey, y'all. Say hey. But here's what I want to ask about next, right? So in regards to us building our multi-million-dollar legacy, right? We have some things that we own and we have some things that the business owns. So how do we know what we should put into the trust if some of the things are owned by our business? Like, well, how do we start to make that distinction?
So of course, everything that you personally own, right, can definitely go in your trust. Let's just speak about your homestead, which is basically a home that you have purchased that you reside in. That's your homestead. That's where you do life at, your safe haven. It goes into your trust. The thing about it, to actually deposit it, as I like to say, into your trust, you change the deed, right? And so then you are basically granting Mccray Stewart Family Trust. You're granting the house into the trust. Now, the thing about it, because I get this question, well, I have a business. Well, guess what? Your business can own, your trust can own the business, can function for the business. I had a family one time who they had reached out to me about redoing their will, and they wanted their business to pass down to generations, and they never wanted to be sold. And they had previously consulted with someone. They were like, look, we have a will already, and it's set out in your will. And I was like, well, understood that you're going to pass it to them in your will, but you want it in your trust, because in your trust, you have that control, you have that power, even after you leave, to say, look, this is what I want to happen to the business. And in a will, the thing is, once assets are distributed, they're distributed. The court is going to close that case out. But your trust, you have that trustee who is in control, directing and making sure that your wishes are continuing to be seen, continue to be lived out. And so the thing is, business, personal assets, business assets, those can go into the trust. It's not just for your personal assets, if you will. So it's a way for it to be structured. And that's why I tell people, when it comes down to estate planning, it's not, one size fits all. Depending on where you are in life, what you have going on, it can be crafted to fit your needs and also what you're pursuing in the future. And the thing is with the trust, it's not like, oh, I have it in place, this is it, it's done. No, you can go back and you can add some things. You can take some things out depending on the type of trust that you have, but it's flexible.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Speaking of types of trust, I know that not all trusts are created equal, and sometimes people don't get their trust set up appropriately, so they don't have a tool to operate like they thought it was going to operate. So, can you tell us the importance of having the right type of trust and having the right person to structure your trust? And I'm starting to see some comments now. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Kay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, ladies. Make sure if you have any questions, you drop those in the comment section here. But I'm going to turn it back over to you, Kristian. What are the dangers of not having your trust set up properly? Or some people say, well, I can do this myself, which can't. But let's say, what are some things that people should look out for to make sure that they do have the right tool to operate for the right purpose?
Totally. And I also want to say, hey, ladies, good to see you all logging in. And so, great question. And my thing is, just because you can do it yourself doesn't mean that you should. One thing I say is, us as business women, what we should know too is that we could do a lot of things in our business, right? You could do the books and you can do the marketing. You can do all those different things. But the thing about it is, as you're building, the thing is, you use those assets and resources to go and get people who are actually experts in the field to then free up your time to go out there and make more and build more. With that being said, there are various types of trust, right? So two that I will discuss: revocable and irrevocable, right? A revocable trust means that you can put those items in there and you can take them out. Hey, I put my house in here, but for whatever reason, I want to change it. I want to pull some equity out, and maybe the mortgage company isn't, allow me to do what I want to do. They want it actually to be in a person's name, my name. Let me pull it out, wait the time, do what I need to do, and then I can put it back in there. Irrevocable trust, once you put them in there, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but in most cases, you cannot then remove those items from your trust. And depending on your circumstances, what you're trying to achieve, each one is going to be suitable for various individuals, right? You even have gun trusts, right? You have trust where people like, look, I just want to put all these firearms in here and pass them down to my children. You have some which is, it's like a spendthrift or a spend down trust. And this is for individuals who may have disabilities and they qualify for government benefits. Well, the thing is, as we all know, with most government benefits, they have these guidelines as far as like the income that you can have. So say that you have a child with disability and you're wanting to give them a house, or you're wanting to give them a large sum of money. The thing about this is that that's probably going to push them over the income limit, right? So if you have this particular trust in place, it allows them that money not to be allocated to them because they don't own it. The trust owns it. And so that way they're able to continue to keep their benefits. And so this is why it's important to go and seek legal advice and say, this is my situation. This is what I'm trying to achieve. What are my options? What are my options? Because just going online and pulling up a document that says trust and filling it out, you don't want a situation where when it's all said and done and you have no longer have a say and you can't go back and correct it, that things aren't panning out the way that you desire them to.
Amen to that. And I believe if you want to be wealthy, do as the wealthy do, right? And we know there are levels to this. And so what the ultra wealthy do is they hire experts. They don't try to do everything by themselves. Like, I haven't seen multimillionaires and billionaires say, oh, I'm gonna try to do everything by myself. No, they hire the best in the game. I see we have a question here, and Kimberly, we did answer that question. You don't have to have a certain number. You don't have to be rich or wealthy by any measure in order to have a trust. But if you are rich and wealthy, because you say you are, and because your numbers reflect that, then you definitely should have a trust. And I highly recommend that you reach out to Kristian with some of your questions. And for those of you who came on late, Kristian Mccray Stewart is one of our speakers at the Attract Abundance Conference. The first day we're focusing on attracting abundance. The second day we're focusing on retiring wealthy. But retiring wealthy is not just about making the money. It's about being able to protect that money. It's about having a solid business succession plan so that your children and your children's children can eat from the fruit of your labor on today. So if you have not gotten your ticket, our early bird sale ends on Thursday, July 31st. And before we wrap this up, Kristian, because I don't want you to give too much for free, because people should be reaching out to you. I just want them to get a little taste. But I wanted to share this because some people may not know. So you have your own law firm. You have your own law practice. And as women are watching this, they may be thinking about having their own law firm or their own dental practice or their own counseling company. And so I want you to share some tips for the woman who is a working professional, but she's thinking about being an entrepreneur in her same area of expertise. Give her some tips. And if there were some things that you wish you had known before you made that leap, share that, because she may be listening and then she needs to schedule a consultation with you. And then she needs to purchase a ticket to the Attract Abundance Conference.
All of it.
But just share a little bit. Just share a little bit on today.
Yeah, the first thing that I will say is that if you have that, it's in you and you know this is what you're called to do, to step out there. Because the one thing about it is there's a lot of freedom in working for yourself and being an entrepreneur. And for me, the way that God wants me to show up in the lives of other people, I have the freedom to do so. So do not be afraid. And even if you are, do it afraid. Step out there, take that leap of faith. And then when you take the step, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. I will tell you one thing about it is that in law school, they did not teach us how to run businesses. They didn't teach us how to be CEOs and entrepreneurs. They taught us how to practice law, right? Mm-hmm. And so I took it upon myself, even in the fear, because I was like, Lord, I'm going to pay all this money for a mentor. How am I going to do it? But the thing about it is, and you never lose out when you invest in yourself. And investing in myself gave me wisdom and knowledge that I needed to continue to grow my practice for the benefit of other people, not just for myself. And do not be afraid to go out there. We were talking about hiring other people to do it. Get help. I had a 5 years into my practice, I did everything by myself. Crazy work. I had my first assistant and she was like, how have you been doing this on your own all this time? God, that was it. But I will tell you, I realized how much I was limiting myself because I hadn't went out there and hired somebody else to come in and help carry the load. When you do, it's going to open you up for more. It's not, you may be thinking, well, how am I going to pay them? Am I going to continue to get the clients? Trust that it's going to work out. But the thing is, you cannot grow. If you continue to stay small, you will stay small. But when you take those steps to grow, you're going to grow. It's going to.
She said, invest at the level where you want to grow. So if you want to stay small, then invest small. That's what I heard. She also said, do it afraid. And if you know it's something that you're supposed to be doing, do it. That's why I had to bend down and get my pom-pom. I said, that's it right there. So how can we get in touch with you? Oh, hello, Demetria. Thanks for watching. Hello, Sean. Thanks you for watching. Tell us, how can we get in touch with you? And what areas do you serve clients in? Because I know that you help with the estate planning, but you also do family law. You can help with business law, trademarks. So go down the list of ways that you can serve our clients.
Yes, totally. So you can find us. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Mccray Stewart and Associates, MSA Law Firms. Our website, www.msalawfirms.com. And far as practice areas, criminal defense, personal injury, we do estate planning and probate. Yes, the trademarks, setting up your businesses. I mean, I did all of mine. I help a lot of people do that, even if you're dealing with nonprofits. One thing that I tell people, and for those who may not have come on when we first started, I had a mentor that when they had first started practicing, they did everything. It wasn't this niche specialty type of thing. And so I was blessed to be taught and trained up in that way. And so I branched out and I provide various services because my clients deal with various issues. And they like, look, I need you to help me. I don't want to go to anybody else. I want to come to you. All right, well, let's get it done. Yes. But the thing is, if there is something that is not in my field of expertise that I do not feel like I can provide the best service to you, I'm going to direct you and put you in the hands of people who can.
Yes, me too. That's why you're here. Because I don't set up trusts. I don't set up wheels. I don't do those. Okay. So thank you so much for being here, Queen. I know that you have a newborn baby girl and you have a very busy schedule. I do not take it lightly that you took out time out of your busy schedule to share information on today and let people know how you can serve them. Any last words before we wrap up?
No, just truly my pleasure, Queen. You know, I already told you it's a blessing. It was not a coincidence that we were connected. And so we're going to keep on rocking and we're going to keep on doing big things.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you all for watching. Again, my name is Terry Alfred. I'm known as the Women's Wealth Strategist, and you can go to attractabundanceconference.com to purchase your ticket by Thursday. And if you want your business to be showcased in the room, you want to buy your ad by Thursday. But get in the room, book an appointment with Kristian, and have yourself an abundant week. Adios, everybody. See you next time.